So our final panel is an exciting one. It is addressing the next generation, how to find and grow the next generation of inventors, and the importance of mentorship in the innovation space, how today's inventors can find and grow the inventors of tomorrow, something I think we're all striving to do, and certainly core to our mission is the National Academy of Inventors. Our panel is moderated by none other than James Howard, who is an honorary NAI member and the executive director of the Black Inventors Hall of Fame. Please help me in welcoming James to the stage.
Thank you, Elizabeth. I appreciate that. Good afternoon, everyone. Now that Sylvia Thomas has raised the ante on the best panel today, I'm going to double down on that and say that you're actually about to witness the best one right here and now. I have the honor of introducing two subject matter experts on the topic of next generation panel. Allow me to introduce you to the first. Our first expert is Jeanne Sinquefield. She is the co-founder of Invention Scouts. In addition, she's an inventor, a philanthropist, a musician, an author, a statistician. Jeanne, as I told you before, is an inventor. She co-founded Invention Scouts in 2014 with the goal to find and grow inventors and their teams through scouting. And the first summer camp program used a TP for classes. How clever is that? Everyone, let's introduce yourselves to Jeanne Sinquefield. Thank you, Jeanne.
I'm Jeanne Sinquefield, been in scouting over 30 years. Welcome to the Lake of the Ozark Scout Reservation. We created this space after I had discussions with young inventors who said that their problem was they didn't have access to equipment, access to people who knew how to do things. We started, and all of a sudden we have this 6,000 square foot invention lab, woodworking lab with state-of-the-art equipment.
We believe that all great inventors are also great leaders. So we teach them about leadership, we teach them about entrepreneurship, we expose them to things like business knowledge, we teach them about patents, trademarks. We want them to have the knowledge to use that equipment to better their communities.
A lot of the kids come here will usually go into a laboring type of business, learning how to program the CNC router, or learning how to design what you want to build, learning how to use a drill, learning how to use a saw. That is a great experience, and it prepares them for the future.
Well, it is a laser engraver that uses a laser to engrave or cut pieces of wood. It is running faster than any human could probably ever cut, and still having a very accurate precision. The creativity of an engineer has created this, and we get to see all sorts of cool things from this.
I want to become an architect in life. Being able to use the $1,000 programs that we have on our computers in here that I can't necessarily afford at my house, that really advances me towards the job field I want to go into.
The kids who come here and know how to use this equipment have a tremendous competitive advantage.
And we're going to be the space where Cub Scouts and Boy Scouts and Invention Scouts can learn how to be creative, how to think on their own, how to work together as a group, and be inventors of the future.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. Now, our next speaker will be Phoebe Miles. Phoebe Miles is the CEO and co-founder of the Cade Museum for Creativity and Invention in Gainesville, Florida. The museum, named after the Gatorade inventor and Miss Miles' father, James Robert, am I pronouncing precisely? Cade? Cade, precisely, Cade, exists to perform communities, to transform communities by inspiring and equipping future inventors, entrepreneurs, and visionaries. The original content of the Cade Museum features hands-on creativity and STEM classes, online videos, rotating exhibits, a weekly Radio Cade podcast, and the Cade Prize, a preeminent annual competition for inventors and entrepreneurs that has awarded, listen to this, $600,000 in seed awards to date. Ladies and gentlemen, I introduce you to Phoebe Miles.
It all happened more than 30 years ago, but I remember it as though it was just yesterday. It was 1967. It was the summer of love. But somehow, someone forgot to tell these guys.
Orange Bowl 67 is underway!
Florida Gators were doing tough against the favorites, Georgia Tech, in their first ever Orange Bowl.
The Gators have no answer to this.
In the first quarter, it seemed like Georgia Tech had all the answers. My teammates, they were blocking their hearts out, but it seemed like nothing was working.
The guys were getting hammered. We did everything we could to try and lift them.
By the end of the first quarter, me and just about everybody else in the place never gave them a chance.
Oh, the Gators are not looking good.
The problem for the Gators was that they expended so much energy early in the game that they had none left for the end. So we devised a drink of carbohydrate and electrolytes that speeds into the system and supplies everything they need for energy production. Naturally, we named it Gatorade.
Whatever these guys came up with worked, because when the Gators came out the second half, they were a different team.
Well, folks, I figure the Gators coach had some stern words to say to his players because they're playing the third quarter as if their life depended on it.
In the second half, our guys seemed to get more tired, but those Gators, they just kept on coming.
We got a whole new ball game here, folks. These are Gators we have not seen before. They are
The final nail in Georgia Tech's coffin came when Larry Smith set an Orange Bowl record by running 94 yards for a Gator touchdown.
Larry Smith is a locomotive. It's all over now, folks. The Florida Gators have taken the Orange Bowl.
So the Gators, with a little help from the doctors from the University of Florida, won the 1967 Orange Bowl for the first time ever. After the game, Georgia Tech's coach Bobby Dodd said to me,
I'm now going to have a seat and engage these two lovely technology invention experts in a few questions. All right, so beginning with you, Jeanne, please share a little bit about yourself and why is mentorship so important as it relates to the next generation of inventors?
Okay, as we said in the thing, I'm an inventor, and I work with, the old Scoutmaster, one of the troop. I was chairman of 59 Eagle Scouts, is a professional inventor, okay? And what we're finding talking to Scouts is there are just kids who were doing inventions. They didn't have access to equipment, and they didn't have access to mentors. And we decided that we could design a program within traditional Scouting, okay? So Scouting teaches certain things, okay? We're gonna teach leadership, team building, learning to learn on your own, being creative, finishing things. So we decided, since we don't know any better, that we could just start an Invention Scout program. The national approved as a pilot program. So the first year, we ran it out of a teepee and rolled the equipment out, epilogue lasers, 3D printers, out to the teepee. It's mid-Missouri, it was hot. So the next year, we built a trailer so we could take all our equipment around the council. And guess what? We had a trailer we could work out. And then we got lucky. The year after that, we built the first 2 buildings for our invention. That was an invention lab building, 3D printers, epilogue lasers, stuff, a full-size woodworking shed, and then we got more trailers, and then we needed more buildings, so we built a blacksmith and welding building, And then we built a skills trade lab, and then right after, like early 2000, girls could join Scouts. They could join Cub Scouts, have their own troops. So in the fall, we had our first invention jamboree, because why not? We had an invention campus. So then we have a second invention campus. We have invention competitions. We have invention scout startups during summer camp, so that you come with a group of kids, you form a team. Your job is to, with mentor support, invent something, build it, get a business plan, market it, and do a pitch. But you see, the thing is, we're talking about, we had mentors there.
Precisely.
And you have merit badge counselors can be mentors. We have 5 invention, what we call college merit badge, you know. And we'll go to universities, like University of Missouri. I'm going there, and the kids are learning how to, in the engineering school, how to build bridges.
Sure.
And now, you know, now we have invention competitions, and we have programs for the adults.
Suffice it to
Just
say,
for you.
you
There's
have
something
really
for, there's
scaled.
something for you, okay?
You have something for me?
Something for you.
All right ahead.
You join our program, you can become an invention ranger. We'll teach you how to use the equipment so you can help us teach the kids and bring it back to your troop. But the idea among this whole thing is inventors are rare. You guys are out there, right? You know inventors are rare. So we need to find them, and we need to find and grow their teams. Now, the kids are doing things that aren't, you know, at your level in any ways. But if you find them and you allow them access to the equipment, and they aren't, we have an invention merit badge. We want the kids to be inventors.
Jeanne, I'm going to hold you to that and ask you to sign me up. I will
You're who you
definitely be
want.
there. But let me pass that same question on right now to Phoebe. The importance of mentorship, okay, and helping to find and grow the next generation of inventors.
So I grew up with a father as an inventor, and I don't ever remember not growing up surrounded by invention. And Gatorade was the only one that became an internationally known product, but he invented many things. And I had a seat at the table of this way of thinking, of a mindset of an inventor, what we call inventivity. And I thought everybody grew up this way. I thought everybody had this stimulation every day at the dinner table. And as I grew up, I realized a lot of people don't have access to this. They don't think this way. How can I pass that torch to the next generation to give all kids that same sense of excitement, the same sense of purpose, this inventor's mindset that problems are exciting, not overwhelming? And I think you can't envision it if you don't see it. And you have to experience it to be able to envision what could be. So that's the importance of mentorship in the invention economy. We all have a responsibility to pass that torch to the next generation.
Excellent insight. Now, that question has a 2-part, and we can have a brief answer from each one of you here. And that is, does mentorship have different impacts on different populations? Phoebe.
I think mentorship is important everywhere, but it's especially important with kids who have never had access to traditional enrichment opportunities. So if they encounter their first person who speaks into their life in that way, it can be transformational. Not just, it can be a root of their experience, not just a branch. It's built into an experience.
Sure. And Jeanne?
Well, the council I used to work in West LA, but now the council is mid-Missouri. They're in 32 counties, and a lot of them are very rural. Most of the kids parents never went to college. And they're actually, I have so many kids who come and go, oh, a 3D printer. And I'm thinking, I don't think that's a big deal, but it really is a big deal. They've never seen this equipment. They've never had access. And we have kids, you know, from poor neighborhoods. And anybody can join Scouts, okay? There's no barrier. You don't have to be eligible to go to MIT or anything to join Scouts.
Excellent, thank you. All right, on this next question, we're gonna actually pull up a video, if I'm not mistaken. And it says here that in November of 2022, the Interagency Working Group on Convergence Federal Coordination in STEM Education, which was a subcommittee of the National Science and Technology Council, they came out with a report with recommendations on convergence education, right? Whereby educators are very unclear on how to teach outside their disciplines, right? Finding others who can guide and mentor the work of students is huge and is a natural place, creativity places like creativity museums. So tell the audience, how do you manage to do what you do by way of having a creativity museum at your disposal?
So I'll start with inventions, because inventions are a tangible product of creativity, but they're embodied in a physical product. And inventions by themselves are multidisciplinary. You can't name me an invention that's in one discipline. They don't exist, because you have to bring in so many different factors. So it's if you reverse engineer any invention, you can then reveal multiple subjects that might seem out of reach to your typical teacher or student, but when they're taught from the context of an invention, they all of a sudden make sense, especially if you wrap around hands-on interactive science experiments that reveal the different intersections of the disciplines in the invention. So inventions are brilliant in and of themselves, but they provide an excellent opportunity to provide education in a way that's accessible, exciting, and relevant, and wrapping into that real live inventors. We call them living exhibits. The living exhibit is the person that comes and helps to teach a class to these kids. So things that were inaccessible become accessible and exciting and doable all at the same time. Inventions are awesome.
Indeed, indeed.
And so are inventors.
Jeanne, tell the audience, how do we get educators to cross-disciplinary teaching levels? How do we get them to that point?
Well, we're bringing them down to camp.
You're bringing them to your camp.
Well, hey, they can be merit badge counselors.
You're going to just
They can be
baptism by
mentors.
fire then.
You guys out there, I hate to say it, if you were in my council, actually there are two of you out there, maybe, the Grants, who are part of my council, they're going to be involved. I can go out, it takes almost nothing to become a merit badge counselor or to help at a merit badge. So you can find people, and in scouting, which is interesting, how many of you guys are Eagle Scouts? I know Rob Duncan is, oh, look at this. A number of you were Eagle Scouts. Now, if you think about Eagle Scouts, that's 1% of scouting is Eagle Scouts, right?
Okay.
So, and Scouts are only a portion of things. So we probably have about, 5% are Eagle Scouts here. Do you think there's a relationship between being here and being an Eagle Scout?
Sure.
But the deal is, it's so easy to get mentors. Others, you would have to pay them. Mentors I'm talking about, they work for free. So if you don't like what I'm doing, cut my salary in half.
Okay, so our third question is this. Starts off with a statement. Inventors are made, not born. Right? The average person thinks that the inventor is born a genius, oftentimes the lone genius, right? We need mentors to lead and show that it is possible to learn to invent. Learn to invent. What are some best practices for teaching this skill set? Let's start with you, Phoebe.
I'm going to go back to examples are a great example. And I tell kids, my father was a terrible student. You might not want to hear that, but we have our prized possession is a letter at the museum written by his teacher saying, "Dear Mrs. Cade, if Bobby could just be quiet and listen and quit making noises in the back of the class, he might make something of himself." So I show this to parents, I show it to teachers of do not discount the kids that are the troublemakers, because behind that troublemaker is likely a creative person that just needs to be channeled in the right way. So my dad would also say inventors are not born, they're made. And I believe everybody has the ability to invent. I think that is what it means to be human, is to be a problem solver. So if you think of inventors as being problem solvers, bring it down to that level, and every kid can see themselves as an inventor. My mom was a 1950s housewife, did not think of herself as an inventor or creative, but she was a fabulous cook. And cooking is inventing as well. So when the first iteration of Gatorade came home, before the freshman team that were the guinea pigs used it, they refused to drink it because it tasted so bad. It turns out electrolyte replacement drinks taste pretty bad. It's like drinking sweat. So they refused to drink it. He came home, my dad came home, and he was depressed. He told my mom, I know this will help the gators, but they won't drink it. And she said, Bob, add lemon. So he thought, I never thought of that. All of these brilliant scientists did not think about squeezing lemon into the original drink. So that night, they hand squeezed lemon into the drink, took it back to the lab. The next day, the freshmen did drink it, barely, but they drank it, and they beat the varsity in the first ever scrimmage where the freshmen beat the varsity. And the next week was an LSU game. So I say, you can meet any kid wherever they are and help them see the inventor in themselves by when they figured out a problem.
I like that. Being ready to meet any kid wherever they are. So Jeanne, tell us, besides enrolling in the Scouts, right? What other ways can we interest us adults, right, in taking on these skill sets, transferring that?
Trying to find and grow inventors. The real thing is to find the kids, to give opportunities that they do things like the Invention Scout startup or an invention competition. I do this program that's to find and grow musical composers. They are rare, but they're not going anywhere until they learn the craft. And I would say that inventors are like that. You know, you need to maybe go to college, grad school, to learn the craft of inventing, the knowledge you need to do the invention. But I actually think there's certain people who are just wired. I mean, I don't know, I'm an inventor. I mean, I remember taking typewriters apart and my mom not being happy. Now, how many out there were like doing wonderful things like taking washing machines apart or otherwise, being very creative? It's a very small child, so I think there's certain characteristics, but the thing is, you miss them, right? They're out there.
But see, you mentioned something very important, though. You do this as a child.
You do
but
this
what's
as a child.
important, though, is to adopt the old adage that my good friend David Vonner, a Marvel superheroes designer, he adopts this adage, and that is that he is a permanent kid battling adulthood, right?
Oh, yes.
That's one of the ways we do it. We become permanent kids, and we battle adulthood. And along the way, right, we develop the necessary empathy to stop and take the time to be a mentor to the kid who needs it most.
It has to be fun.
It absolutely has to be fun.
I can call people up out of the blue. I had this really cool kid, I mean, he's a smart kid, he's working in the iLab, right? So I gave him a Raspberry Pi. I don't know why, I just thought he'd like to see one, right?
Yeah.
I came back a month later, and he'd built a computer from scratch. But he couldn't figure out how to get the sound to work, and I'm thinking, I'm a computer genius, but I don't know how to get the sound to work on your computer. I made a call to one of my friends. He says, well, I don't know, but I know. They gave me another phone number. I gave the phone to the kid. Bing, fixed it, and it was done. And you know what? I talked to that kid, and I said, where are you going to go to college? And he says, oh, our family doesn't go to college. Oh, geez. I said, we need a conversation here.
Yes.
Okay?
Starts with a conversation for sure.
Conversation.
Yeah.
We will help you become inventors. But just think, isn't invention fun? Isn't this why you do it? It's why I do it. I don't need to, and a lot of the inventions I've done, they're never going to be patented because I tend to just give them away. But it's fun. Inventing should be fun. We should bring in the joy of having a program that's fun and educational. You can use your hands and your mind. You can be creative. And the fundamental changes in a school program is they're going to have to come back to old school. They're going to have shop class or a variation, you know?
No.
They're going to have leadership training.
Some of the lost
Have the kids work as a team, right?
Yes. Well, Jeanne, you mentioned college, right? And that reminds me of Gen Z, okay? Each semester, I have the honor and privilege of working with dozens upon dozens of students from University of Texas, Austin, okay, in their design thinking social entrepreneurial program. And I've made note of a few qualities of Gen Z, and here they are. They have a built-in expectation of collaboration, right? Now is the time for the educators who were not brought up with this mentality to catch up, because these kids expect it. They soak it up like a sponge, right? And as part of their charge, you educators and the teachers are equipped and should be ready for interdisciplinary teaching. And as you made a note, it starts with having a conversation. It starts with talking, right? And it starts with being empathetic towards the needs and concerns of those whom you are collaborating with, right? So here's my question to you. What does this new pedagogy look like as we forge into the future, expecting teachers to wear many capes, right, and be able to engage in this cross-interdisciplinary type of practice? Let's start with you, Phoebe.
So we have a partnership with the public school in our county where 3 of the worst performing elementary schools come into the museum. And the teachers are big fans of this because they come in and they get training also of how to engage kids in these scientific concepts that are interdisciplinary. We also bring in corporations from the county that might be able to showcase one of the technologies. We've brought in coding companies to help teach one of those modules. We've brought in the library system to layer on the experience. So what we do is curate a complex topic that they are having to teach but don't feel qualified. And we turn it into it's a 4-hour science intervention where the 2nd through 5th graders come for 4 hours and are exposed to multiple avenues of engagement and their teachers as well. So it's not something any teacher can do alone. It really has to be a community-wide engagement is our approach.
I like that word use, community, for sure. Jeanne?
If I was going to change, the things, I would think about how we do things in scouting. Everything's run by sort of patrols. You're part of a small patrol. So you learn a patrol, you cook as a patrol, you work as a patrol. If I was going to, I one time took like 40 scouts up to Alaska, and they were running like banshees. We were at some place, some outdoor place, and they were going to give us a tour. And all I had to do was say to the senior patrol leader, okay, settle up. Patrols got together. If the kid wasn't acting right, somebody would hit him. Somebody would hit them, and we, every time we went to an exhibit, senior patrol leaders go, signs up. Remember those guys? Signs up. Shut your mouth. And she says, that was the best group I've ever had. And so if I'm going to do things, I'm going to put the kids into teams, because then you have a civilized classroom. You can learn as a team instead of just learning as an individual. Okay? I think you learn better as a team.
Team dynamic for sure. Well, what I'd like for you both to do right now is speak directly to the audience and answer this question. What can our audience do to get involved, right, and help to grow and find the next generation of inventors? What are their responsibilities? Go ahead, fill them in.
Well, first thing we're going to do, we're doing merit badge colleges, so we'll bring in a couple of thousand kids to different universities. So if your university isn't doing one, you should be reaching out to your local Scout Council. You can volunteer as merit badge counselors in Scouts. The idea is to just, if you're a young child or a young teenager, just being exposed to things, you can change their world with one merit badge. Okay, you really can. I mean, I was thinking about the kid who decided in our council we were going to teach nuclear science, but nobody knew how. So he was teaching nuclear science. It changed his world. He's working on a PhD in nuclear science now. See, you can. See, I mean, you want to be there. You want to be the person that inspires and gets the kids to know. And once you know you're an inventor, you get a competition. You know what? You can prove to others you're an inventor, and it changes your life.
Amen. Phoebe?
I would encourage everybody here to talk with Jeff Daubertine in the front right here. He's has brought information about our 14th annual National Inventors Prize, and either apply for yourselves or send it to people in your networks, especially at university-based research. It's a $100,000 prize this year, but what's different about our prize is it's not a pitch competition. It's about ideas, and we require everybody who applies for the prize, if they make it to the finals, to be available to meet with kids. And we supply the interactive experience we have a modular invention curriculum that can be made to fit any inventor. And that's one of the requirements. We don't ask every inventor. Some of them are more difficult to put in front of kids, but before the pandemic, we did have inventors come in and teach classes to kids. And that would be my ask, is that you register for the prize, which is now going to be national it's our 14th year, but we are going national. And then that database we will be building up over time to bring in inventors to every area, especially the underserved. And you don't have to worry about the science behind it, how to engage kids, because we'll do that part. We did a national Take Your Child to Work Day for Qualcomm and created their individual all-day experiments based on their technologies for their children. And it was beamed worldwide from the museum. It was an awesome experience, and that would be what we would ask you to send your invention ideas in, and we can do the same thing.
That sounds so exciting. I hope you're hearing what she's saying. Make yourself accessible. I too have a program, a totally immersible self-learning tool pop-up museum, whereby, like Phoebe, I expect inventors to get in front of that camera and speak directly to students, right? And the first time I put this model to test was with an inventor many of you know, my good friend Lonnie Johnson, right? The inventor of the what?
Super Soaker.
Super Soaker, precisely. Lonnie was unable to make a convention where we were speaking in Philadelphia. So I said, Lonnie, the kids were really expecting you, okay? Let me rush somebody to your place and put a camera in front of you right now, and it'll be like you were there. And that was more successful than if I had flown them all the way to Philadelphia, because it really worked out grand. And I'm looking forward to collaborating with you on holding them to task and putting some of these inventors in
Dr.
front of
Goswami has
cameras.
already been a guest at our museum with his
Indeed.
molecule invention.
Indeed.
And it was up all through the pandemic. And in the lab, when you weren't there, the kids can do filtration experiments about why filters don't necessarily filter out everything, and then look at the technology that he did. So that was one example. Thank you.
Excellent, excellent. Well, we have, interestingly enough, time for questions and answers. So if anyone wants to step up and ask the panelists a question, please feel free to.
Hi. Can you hear me okay? Yeah. So I'm Annalise Escobar. I was wondering if you wanted to comment on the environment of intellectual safety. For me, this is so important for inventing, and I've seen that in my own group and my own life, and just wondered if you guys think about it. Do you encourage it? Do you train people on it? Any thoughts about it?
On IP?
In sorry, did I say the wrong things? Intellectual safety. So the idea of being able to fail freely while you're inventing.
Oh, without a doubt.
I'm sorry, I'm a little confused. Intellectual safety?
Yeah. So if I grew up with a father who was an inventor as well. So it was absolutely okay to think of something that then didn't work.
Right.
If you're really going to be a true inventor, you have to be really okay with inventing things that don't work. So if you're in a household or growing up in a household where judgment comes hard when you make a mistake, or if you say something that, oh, what's that stupid idea kind of mentality, places like you're talking about are so precious because we can bring those kids out of that and give them a safe space and teach them what it's like to be in a safe intellectual space.
So we do have a saying that failure is fabulous, or failure makes fabulous, because you can't ever get to an invention without failure. You have to embrace failure as important as success, because it's a step.
See, I don't think as a failure, you just learn one other way that doesn't work.
An additional way to get it done.
I love that.
You know, one of our greatest inventors in this country, Thomas Edison, spoke about having failed thousands upon thousands of times, right?
Yeah, my favorite.
So, you know, at my school, Entrepreneurial U, we subscribe to the adage of falling forward, right? So if you're going to fail, you keep forward, right? And in the great words of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., okay, who says that if you can't fly, then you must run. And if you can't run, then you must walk. And if you can't walk, then you must crawl. But whatever you do, you keep moving forward. Precisely? Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, as mentors and as leaders, and as those who have charge over our future innovative geniuses, we must adapt to that principle of not ridiculing, but as you may note, creating this fail-safe environment. Thank you for bringing that to our attention. Go right ahead.
Great thanks for the panel for being creative by starting the session with interesting videos. Now I have a question for Dr. Sinquefield. And thank you so much for taking care of the next generation. And thank you so much for your generosity for finding the Boy Scouts. So at lunchtime, we heard that National Academy of Inventors has local chapters that can involve students, for college students, to do different type of competitions. I was wondering whether you think it's a good idea to establish youth chapters. So this way we can do competitions for high school students, middle school students, maybe some talented elementary school students. As we all know that as an inventor, we need to think outside the box. And in terms of this, kids have a high potential to be inventors because they haven't established their boxes yet. And so my question is whether you think it's a good idea for National Academy of Inventors to establish youth chapter. Thank you.
That's sort of interesting. We're doing something, we have in Scouting, we have a venture program, which is 14 to 21. And it's Invention Scouts, but we don't determine what they're working on.
Yeah.
And if they change their mind with the equipment, or they go from the science lab to the health lab to the engineering lab to the audio-visual down to camp, they're in charge. See, that's the difference with Scouts. Scouts, or you say boy run, but, you know, kid run. So you want to do that. You want to, you know, hell, we'll let you play. You want an MOU with Scouting? We'll do that.
There you go. That's your answer. Did you want to chime in on that, Phoebe?
No, I think there's one more question.
Go right ahead, sir.
Well, thank you for those words of wisdom. So I've had the opportunity of being mentored and mentored many over my academic career, including my 2 children. So I was asked, wanted to share a couple of thoughts. I was asked to give the commencement address to the grad school at the University of Connecticut this May, and they asked me to talk about mentorship. So one of the things that I think is very important as to what a mentor can do is to push the cause of excellence and to push the cause of resilience. And we just heard about it. Engineering, it would be deformation and reconstituting it to its original forms. It go on and on and on, as Steve Jobs had rightly pointed out. You sort of rise and, but there were 3 phases of mentorship, which I'd like to share with you. So a mentor should be someone who's my role model, right? So that person I would respect, I would go to for advice, I would go to for all kinds of items. But there are 2 other phases of mentorship, one of which is being a coach. Soft skills, if it's business or it's engineering or medicine, as in my, you teach soft skills. And the 3rd aspect to that is being a sponsor. So a mentor has to do things for the mentee from the sidelines. And I think that those are the 3 components that sort of comprise of mentorship. And I think that mentorship and inventorship go hand in glove.
Indeed. Indeed. Great insight. Appreciate it. We'll take one last question here.
Thank you. It was a great discussion. I have 2 comments. Too much of discipline at home during young age will kill creativity. Do you agree with that statement? Parents who are too disciplinary when the kids are young will kill their creativity.
I do think that you learn as much through play as too academic too early.
Sure.
So I am actually a big fan of play, embodied play, taking things apart, doing things, and I think academics are very important, but play and imagination are equally important. And one thing about creativity, the word, the inventivity, the word that we use at the museum, actually we thought we had made this word up and we were trademarking it, but we found out it used to be a word in the 1870s. And it was equally used as creativity until the 50s, then creativity shot up as a word, but inventivity did not. And inventivity is embodied creativity. So the kid has to play with things and not just have it be, So yes, my answer is I agree with you.
That is an excellent insight. And I've been sort of indicated here to bring this to a close. But I want to piggyback on what you just said by telling you a quick story, very brief story. And that is, I'll return back to my good friend Lonnie Johnson. And this plays off of your example about the discipline. Lonnie tells of a story whereby he was fascinated with rocket fuel, absolutely fascinated. And so he attempted to take some homegrown ingredients from his father's garage and the kitchen cabinet and make rocket fuel on his mom's kitchen stove. All right? Suffice it to say, that did not go so well.
What could possibly go
Okay?
wrong?
So when Lonnie put out the fires and quelled the explosions and wiped all the residue off his face, he rushed to his bedroom. Why did he rush to his bedroom? To put on a second pair of pants, right? Because he knew that his father was going to tear a hole in his butt when he got home from work. But surprisingly, his father had a different reaction. And rather than get upset, his father asked to see Lonnie out on the back porch. And he sat him down, and he put his arm around him. And he said, "Son, you know that's very dangerous, what you did in there." He said, "If you just have to do that," all right? He said, "do it outside in the backyard." And he bought him a portable stove. Okay? The moral of that story is exactly what you just said. And Lonnie Johnson is way above and beyond a $3 billion super soaker toy designer. He is also an aerospace engineer. He's worked on many great projects for NASA. And he's working on an invention right now that I personally believe is going to revolutionize the battery industry. And I want to get him here at one of these conferences sometime in the future. Real quick, did you have a real quick question? Because I know Paul's in the back saying, Mr. Howard, get off the stage. Go ahead.
I'm always the practical person. And so my question is that an institution like this deserves, just to reflect on Dr. Jan's proposal, a youth chapter, and their participation at each of these meetings, as we have in the AACR and many other organizations. When they become an integral part and listen to what is going on here, they will become the future leaders. And that's it.
By all means, by absolute all means. Well, listen, let's give a big round of applause for both of our panelists here today. They were absolutely remarkable. And I have a surprise, everyone, as we bring this to a close, right? As we bring our discussion today to a close about the next generation of inventors, I can't think of a better moment for a very special announcement. Your attention, please, to the monitor.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Judy Genshaft, and I'm a proud fellow of the National Academy of Inventors. My history with the Academy goes back to its founding in 2009, when I was the president of the University of South Florida, a newly invited member of the Association of American Universities. Dr. Paul Sandberg, who was then my vice president for research, came to me with an idea of establishing the National Academy of Inventors. And this was to recognize inventors in academia, governmental agencies, and nonprofit research institutes. I was so excited and fully supported these efforts to establish the National Academy of Inventors. I've enjoyed attending many NAI meetings over the years. The issues that are addressed at these meetings are some of the most challenging problems confronting our society. And what makes these meetings so special is the opportunity to participate and offer solutions. My schedule did not permit me to attend this year, but I look forward to next year's meeting at the Research Triangle in Raleigh, North Carolina, which is co-sponsored by North Carolina State University. But today, I'm so pleased to be making an exciting announcement for NAI. Joining me to tell you why is my fabulous husband, Steve Greenbaum.
My wife and I recently started a family foundation called the Genspiration Foundation. Much of our philanthropic efforts support education, innovation, and initiatives that deliver meaningful and measurable outcomes, ensuring positive impact. Today, we are announcing a grant to the National Academy of Inventors to promote innovation among the next generation of inventors, both K through 12 and collegiate. We are excited to be partnering with NAI to support the creation of 2 new Student Inventor Awards. First, the Genspiration Young Inventors Award for those in K through 12, and second, the Genspiration Collegiate Inventors Award. There will be both team and individual recipients in both student categories. These awards will not only offer a cash prize, but will also assist the winners to obtain a patent on their invention. These awards are an expansion of NAI's Student Showcase that is currently part of the organization's annual meeting. We are so pleased to recognize some fantastic young inventors.
That's right, Steve. We feel strongly that the creation of these awards will support and recognize young student inventors. We're looking forward to making our inaugural awards next year in Raleigh. Thank you, and please enjoy the rest of this year's annual meeting.
You want to say something on that award? You can.
Oh, yes.
Got something to say.
May I make a comment right now? No, go right ahead. The comment is, I attended all the sessions this morning. This one I enjoyed the most. Of course, the panelists, both of them, were great, and also the moderator. and the people, the audience that made comments, enjoyed all of them. Thank you.
So let me just answer Judy's thing, and then I'll let you close, which would be great. Because I think they'd want a nice answer to their generous gift. So on behalf of the Academy, thank you, Judy and Steve, and what a better place to be making this exclusive announcement than this panel, where we are discussing the creating environments that encourage our next generation of inventors. We're excited to be partnering with Genspiration. Look forward to the wonderful opportunities this award will present to young innovators. Academy already has many resources for collegiate inventors to take advantage of. We're happy to be adding this amazing award to the mix. This will be, however, the Academy's first foray into the K-12 space, a space that desperately needs resources and educational programs to cultivate future inventors from a young age. The innovation ecosystem is transforming rapidly, and this award from the Genspiration Foundation will be part of our efforts to not only meet the needs of the next generation inventors, but to help them thrive. It is our responsibility as the great minds of today to cultivate the great minds of tomorrow and to set them on a path to success. As Judy and Steve mentioned, the inaugural awards will be given out at our next 13th annual meeting in Raleigh next year. We look forward to presenting them during our newly expanded student showcase program, and we hope to see you there as well. Be sure to visit the NAI website or our social media to learn more about the award. We'll be putting it out in August. Let me just say, personally, I've spent 2 decades with President Genshaft and worked so close with her. She's an amazing woman, and her husband's an amazing man. I can say that they are so generous. They are the largest, in fact, Judy is the largest donor to any university in the United States while being a president of that university, giving many, many more times her salary over 20 years. So they're really a great group, great family, great foundation, and we really look forward to working with them. So on that side, I'm going to give them applause and then bring it back to the room.
Why, thank you, Paul. I would just close by saying I appreciate everyone extending their time. I know we're beyond the time that the schedule says, but I would like, in fact, to comment on Julie and Steve's foundation program here. I had the pleasure of meeting Julie Genshaft 2 years ago. Thanks to Paul and thanks to Jade over there and everyone else that brought me into this community. And I sat next to her at the dinner. Right? You were kind enough to sit me next to her, right? And she spent the ensuing 2 hours bending my ear about how excited she was over her patent that she had, I believe, on a wheelchair, right? A special wheelchair. You talking about exuding the qualities, right, of a permanent kid battling adulthood. It was right there. She was so excited. So I am not surprised one bit that they are both doing what they're doing through Genspiration Foundation. Because what she has done is she is starting a pathway towards more Julie Genshafts. And the world can't not but be a better place for it. Let's give her an applause.